You're listening to the Empowering Process podcast with your host, Gail Kraft. Listen as she holds frank discussions around how your purpose, being present, and trusting your power impacts your life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or developing your vision, you'll find wisdom and insights you can utilize right now. Welcome your host, Gail Kraft.
Woohoo. Hey, everybody. Gail Kraft here from the Empowering Process podcast. And I have with me yet again my dear friend, Lisa Adams. And Lisa, is a fantastic woman. She is the founder of BIMA, BIMA Network for Women, and Lisa Adams Coaching. She is a recovered corporate workaholic, aren't we all, an
Yeah, I
entrepreneur,
know.
and most importantly, wife to her pastor husband, Mike, for 22 plus years. And she has two adult sons. Lisa works with professional women on developing and growing their faith and leadership abilities and the work that they have been gifted to do. I love that, Lisa, was gifted to do. She writes and teaches biblically based leadership lessons for Christian women in business or those leading other women in ministry. Lisa helps encouragement and inspiration to her audience. I should say she brings it, and her clients to live into their faith and into their calling. And Lisa and I are going to talk today about tribe. Welcome,
hmm
Lisa.
Thank you, Gail. Hello, everyone. I am just so thrilled and honored to be here again. Thank you so much for asking a second time.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be
Yeah,
fun.
and tribe is it's one of my topics I love to talk about. So,
Oh,
yeah.
fantastic, fantastic.
hmm
So before we started, I made a comment about I used to think I knew what tribe was until
Mm-hmm.
most recently, quite frankly. And I used to think that tribe was the group of people that you just kind of hung around with. And in a way, yes, but not really,
There's,
because those people, many of them, as you grow and change, or as they grow and change, you lose touch, and you actually have no interest
hmm
in reconnecting. I'll give a really quick story, and then I'll get to you, um, about a friend of mine. So I consider her my sister tribe. This woman, her nickname is Toby. Hey, Toby, if you're listening. Uh, Toby and I were friends since the second grade. I mean,
yes.
we did, we talked about sex. We talked about clothes. We talked about shaving our legs. All of the transitions, right?
Yep.
We talked about, I think it's time to date, don't you? Because we were like hanging out. Yeah, I know other girls our age are dating, right? Seriously, we talked about everything. And then at age 18, there was an event that occurred, and she disappeared. I would
Mm-hmm.
call and her mother would say, she's not here. She doesn't want to talk to you. I just, it was done. I was heartbroken,
Mm-hmm.
heartbroken. And I was living with my brother at the time, and my sister-in-law said, Gail, you got to give it up. But you can't make her talk to you.
Right.
Well, many decades later, she found me on Facebook. And the story is, and I'll make this as quick as I can. She messaged me and said, Hey, Gail, it's Toby. I'm like, yeah, right. I went out to Facebook and she had like three pictures and that was it. There's so many scams. I'm like, whatever. I just
Oh.
ignored her. Right.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. There's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, yeah, I'm so and so. Okay,
Right.
right.
Exactly. So a year later, she's like, happy birthday. Again, my birthday comes up on Facebook. Doesn't impress me. But then I put a picture of my 15-year-old grandson celebrating his birthday and on Facebook. And I said, this is what 15 looks like. And she put a picture of her and me
At
on
15?
it. And she said, this is what we
Wow.
looked like at 15.
Oh,
And I went, holy
wow.
crap, it's her.
It's
Right.
actually her.
right? So I immediately called her, and we've been reconnecting and
Oh, that's awesome.
rebonding, and we both say we
Mm.
grew each other up,
Oh yeah, totally. Totally.
right?
That's what those friends are for when you're first, those formative years. I had a friend
Right?
like that too, Julie.
Yeah.
We stayed friends until we left for college. Yeah, and then we still stay in touch every once in a while, but we haven't, but we were together for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so, so important. So I consider her tribe. That's
Mhm.
tribe because it's a bond that is deeper, that can transcend all of the time that went through.
And I think
So
there's tribes for different seasons.
yes. So
Different
talk
times in
about
our
that.
lives. Yeah. So I mean, like you mentioned Toby and my friend Julie. And, um, that was a season of growing up, right? And then there's the season of going to college and post college. And then there's career. And then, for me, it was career until into my 30s. Then there was, marrying a pastor and having kids late in my 30s and way later than any of my high school or college friends. And then you've got different tribes for jobs and pastors friends and now I think I probably have my favorite and deepest tribe of women around me right now. And I'm so grateful for that because I didn't have that bigger, deeper tribe per se. I had friends. I didn't have a tribe
Uh,
until within the past probably 6, 7 years. So,
tribe, tribe for me, and as I said, I just recently, since 2020,
mm-hmm,
discovered what tribe really, really is. And they don't judge you.
mm-hmm,
They love you through your pain.
yep,
They love you through your celebrations. They love you through
mm-hmm,
your falling down. They
mm-hmm,
love you warts and all,
yep,
right?
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, and they will tell you the truth because they want
Mm-hmm.
you to succeed, not because they want to bring you down.
Right. They love you, they care because they really care. And
Right,
they show that caring through their actions and through how they treat you and value you and encourage you and also speak truth to you, right?
right.
So I mean, I love my pack of girlfriends right now. They are amazing. Some are local here in New York and some are around the country. And but I've got that pack that is just like that. They will support and like you said, warts and all. But it took a long time for me to find that tribe anyway.
Yeah, and for me too. I have some friends who do a live podcast, and they're pretty amazing women. They're rough around the edges, which is perfect for me. And yeah, yeah. And they were talking about the harshness that they had to break through
Mm,
growing up,
mm.
right? And culturally we're all different, but we all have similar experiences. And for me, I was, believe me, Lisa, you wouldn't like me, the person that I was. I was hard, I was rough, I was mean. I could be mean
Well,
on
you
purpose.
lived in the inner city with a gang. I mean,
Oh,
like your growing up was very different than me out in the suburbs.
right, right. But seriously, but I carried that through. I mean, that's why I succeeded in business because I was one of the guys. I could
Mm-hmm.
go toe to toe and fuck you all day long. It's not going to
Mm-hmm.
bother me, right? Right? Um, and they thought that was cool. It really wasn't until, oh God, I don't even know when I woke up. I don't think there was a moment that I woke up. I think it was a
Mm-hmm.
gradual waking up because there was a point in time when I was leaving my second husband. I divorced a man I loved. But I couldn't resolve the one issue that just kept eating away. It was like a cancer rotting at the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't up to me to resolve it. It was up to us, and I couldn't get the us to happen.
Yep.
And so I started questioning my worth and my ability and, who am I that run into this, my second marriage, my second divorce, what's wrong with me, right? All of those,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We
right?
second guess everything. Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was true to a point,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is it about me that draws this type of person, this type of relationship? What am I drawing, and how do I stop, right? And so I started taking those walls down, right? And it was brick by brick. The wall didn't tumble down. It was one brick at a time, and it was a lot of work. And I would say there's no bricks anymore. What you see is what you get. Um, that doesn't mean I don't have garbage that I lug in the back that I lug,
Oh right.
right?
That's super top secret, baggage.
Right,
Yes, exactly.
right. That still comes, that stuff comes up. But tribe could not come into my life while I had a wall up,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah, because we can't be vulnerable and open to possible friendships if we're not, taking that wall down. And I have a wall, there's a very different type of wall being a pastor's wife. There's certain expectations. Oh, you're going to act this way. You're going to support your husband no matter what. Like there's just, and truthfully, it's kind of unhealthy. And but when I got here to New York, I had some women that actually reached out to me and they opened up first, and that allowed me to open up to them. And
Right.
it was such a gift, and I'm so grateful for that. And that we never judge each other. Like we just support each other, and it's great. But it took like you were saying, it took a while. Like you had to break down the walls and the bricks. I had to be open to even having conversations because I had gotten burned in the past. And but I think now, and I think in my 40s, I'm in my 50s now, but in my 40s, I really started to discern like what does a real friendship look like?
Yes.
Right. And then also just trying to, do the bullshit meter. Uh, is, is this, especially as a pastor's wife, when we moved around, I mean, we're on our fourth church, people will be like, oh, hi. Oh, I'm so, like, we're going to be BFFs. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're not. You're great. And I love your enthusiasm and that's great. And you'll probably be active part of the church, but we'll see over time if we're really going to be BFFs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That yeah. And I think that is I can remember my limitations on friendship being
Mm.
created when I was a teenager. And I
Hmm.
was told, if you have two or three real friends in your lifetime, consider yourself lucky.
Mm.
And I thought, well, that's pretty sad
Yeah, that is.
in a lifetime. But I believed it until I didn't,
Hmm.
and so that that allowed me to keep distance with people because, well, you're not the lifetime friend, and you're not the lifetime friend, and you're not the lifetime, right, you're the just now friend. Right.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
um
Putting everybody in buckets. And
right,
it's,
right. Meanwhile, I
and
don't
we
want to
just
be
hurt
put in a
ourselves
bucket.
when we put people in buckets, right?
Right. Right. And yeah, but I don't want to be in the bucket. Right. Don't categorize me. um right, there's my ego stepping in.
Or you're just kick-ass personality.
Right, right. Um, but seriously, those are the things that I thought. And then I realized, well, if I don't want to be put into a category, then I need to stop putting people into category. And honestly, I don't prejudge people. I never did prejudge people. I'll give you another quick story as an
Mm.
example. So I was working at a company, Y2K. Y2K was
Oh
shutting
yeah.
down, and I was moved into a different department and before the layoffs. So as soon as I was moved, I knew layoffs were coming, and thank you, you saved me, because the
Yeah.
layoff is we're done with Y2K, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first meeting that I had with my technical team, because I was a project manager and I had certain clients that were mine within the company. I'm meeting my technical lead. She's in Ohio. I'm in Boston somewhere. And my boss is telling me to watch out for her, that she's difficult to work with, and going on and on about how terrible this person is. By the way, her name was
Yeah.
Gail as well. And so then we have the meeting, and I'm meeting my customers, right? And I had corporate as customers. I had the big guys,
Yep.
right? And her. So the meeting is over. I get back to my desk and I call her. And I said, listen, let's do some role clarification. My job is to do all the bullshit paperwork you don't want to do. Your job is to make us look awesome by delivering what the client wants. Together, we define what that is. Is
Yeah.
that cool with you? She goes, I think I love you. Right?
You're like, fantastic.
Right? So, and so when I left and went to another company, that's when she told me what had happened.
Yeah.
She heard the conversation. She was not on hold.
Oh, goodness.
Everybody
Awkward.
heard that conversation. She said, you impressed everybody because you did not prejudge me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they saw that. Little
Mm-hmm.
did I know that that was happening, right?
You
Right?
earned respect for that because you weren't gossiping and, yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And that's how you draw tribe in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was, I was divorced. Yeah, I was divorced. So I was on that journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Of you need to be vulnerable, you need to be true, you need to be clear, you need to lead with your heart, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's very scary.
Yeah.
But man, tribe, man, they got your back.
I know, I know. Like my friend, so Brittany started BMO with me, right? And we started that in October of 2020. I think I might have told some of the story on the last podcast, but um, so she and I had been friends for 15 years, like before her first husband passed away. And actually, before she had her daughter, and then a couple years later, her first husband passed away, and so it was so interesting, like how that friendship grew over the years. Like we had talked about launching a website for working moms way back when, like in '07, I think, and '08, we would sit over lunch and talk about our brainstorming piece, and then then her husband passed away, and a lot of things changed at that point. But how that friendship has grown over the years. I mean, I think we're 15, 16 years into it now. And now we're, ministry partners. And we've been speaking at different conferences. And we spoke at a conference in August, which was amazing. And so, it's interesting in how that grows and changes. And you just kind of, we just let it go. Like we just stayed friends. We prayed for each other. We supported each other. We've lived it all across the country. We haven't necessarily lived in the same town. I think there was about 2 years there that we lived in towns next to each other. Um, but it's just such a gift. I mean, we have our BEMA meetings weekly, and we're recording podcasts, and so we've got so much going on. But it's such a gift, and just to be open to it, and not to say that we haven't had our ups and downs. There's been challenges where I screwed something up and had to apologize, and she was like, "Okay, I'm going to calm down now," and so we got it all straightened out. And I'm like, "This was my intent, but it didn't work out that way," and so I apologize. And and then we prayed about it, and it's all good. But that's when you're willing to admit our mistakes, willing to be vulnerable, willing to just do life together and work through all the crap that happens and enjoy the blessings. We
I love that, willing to do life together. You know, when we talk about relationships, many people often immediately think about partnerships, your husband or your significant other. And that's just one
yeah,
relationship. Every time you interact with a human being, it is a relationship.
bingo,
Even if
yes.
I'm reacting, doing a solo podcast and you listen to it, I am interacting with you still, right? In a virtual, that is a relationship,
Hmm.
right? And I look at my relationships now as like I'm holding a dove in my hand.
Hmm. They're
I have
precious.
right,
They're
right,
very precious.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Hmm.
And I don't want to hurt the dove. And if
Hmm.
it stays with me, that's cool. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Right.
Right. I have I think I mentioned earlier that a couple of my friends do a live podcast twice a week, and today they
Yes.
did one, and I very rarely have time to pop in, but I did today, right? And so I'm typing in my comics and they go, oh, right? And then one of them
So
went,
fun.
she's like, Gail is so flow. And I'm sitting there thinking, if you knew Gail at 18, the flow was like the last word you would use, right? But but I'm sitting there thinking that I've been called that more than once lately.
Hmm.
And my friend who is an African shaman, right, says that based on my numerology, I am water and
Hmm.
I am flow,
Hmm.
or I can be an iceberg,
Ah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
Water
So
takes three forms.
it does.
So I think, you know what, as we talk about tribe, and I just wanted to bring this up because it kind of popped in my head, is, we're talking about being open and really allowing us to build relationships, to be able to look for those relationships at times and be open to let those relationships grow organically. And truthfully, my deepest friendships are other women of faith, where we've been able to really work through our faith, truthfully, and prayer and all kinds of things. But to, I think, as far as looking for that tribe, or be discerning on who's a part of your tribe and how you grow in that tribe. I think we started talking about that,
Mhm.
is how the tribe actually grows and develops you, and makes you stronger. I'm
Yeah,
thinking of the Kelly Clarkson song. So
that was last month.
yeah. So, um, but be discerning and one, I would say be open to having new relationships, right? And then also, but give it time.
Hmm.
Like, be open to having those friendships. Give it time. Let each other prove their ability to trust. Like that, can you actually trust this person? That's a big thing for me. Can I actually trust them with confidential life information being
Right.
in public, right? That can be a challenge. So it's building that trust, it's earning it, it's also earning that respect yourself and earning that trust as well, and then just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah.
And you know um, what other tips do you have for people building their tribe, or
Well,
trying to find one,
oh,
Gail?
just try. Well, you can't find your tribe. Your tribe shows up
Finds you.
when you're ready,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's true.
Right? Because like I said, I didn't even think I knew something was missing
Hmm.
in my soul, but I didn't know what it was. And I just trusted that I trust, you trust God, I trust the universe. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, same being, right? Just give it a different name. Um, and I trust that I'll be given the answers, and that when I am ready, it will show up. It's like the movie, if you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah.
Right. If you build
Mm-hmm.
it, they will.
Field of Dreams. Yes.
Right. Right.
Love
That's
baseball. Yep.
love it. That's who we are. Field of Dreams. That might be what I call this podcast. um, you know, so I guess it's like just learn to trust yourself,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And many of us don't really, really trust ourselves. Um,
You mean our instincts, or our kind of intuition?
or even like ourselves. Um,
True. True.
there was a point in my aha-ness, as I was like waking up, where I would say, if they really knew what I was thinking, knew who I was, they wouldn't like me.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
We've all felt that. We've all felt
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. And so when you think that, then what do you think about yourself then?
Mm-hmm. We don't
Right?
value ourselves, right?
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the things, one of the things I would recommend for people to do is every time that you realize that you say something negative about yourself, to stop and remember the good things about yourself and say it out loud. You know,
And also,
go
yeah,
ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say I would add to that too is um, when a thought comes in and you're like, what is that? And is it a negative thought about myself? And do I want to keep it? You can choose to keep it or let it go, right? It can flow, it can fly away.
Oh, I love the
And
choice. Yes.
yeah, we can let it fly away or we can hold on to it. And is it true or is it a lie?
Well, I usually say, well, where did that come from?
Yeah,
What is that, a story that I made up, or is that a reality?
exactly.
Right?
Perfect.
And if
Yep.
it's a reality, can I change that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the choice? And do we want to just kind of work with that thought for a while and just let it fly right out of our head, or do we want to take action on it?
Right. And no matter what choice is the right choice, right? One of the things that I do with my clients who are open to it, right, is I am a soul realignment practitioner. And that means that I do go to the fifth dimension and read your library records. If you want me to. If you don't, that's fine. Because if you don't want me to, I can't. Right? You have to even spiritually let me in. You can verbally say yes, but I can get to the door and knock on the door and it's yeah, yeah, you're not coming in. Right? That has happened once. Um, and that's fine. That's fine because I have other tools. But anyway, if you allow me to do that, then I'm going to find the things that are holding you back energetically right now, right? That are no longer true, but you believe them to be so,
Right. The lies
right?
that we believe that we've been raised with or whatever. Somebody told us over the years or a label we've been given and we let it stick to us.
Well, that and I'll give you another story
Yeah.
about making decisions. We make decisions and choices throughout our lives, but this one I can remember at 2 years old making this decision, and it affected my whole life. So here I am, 2 years old, sitting on the floor, and my mother's at the sink doing dishes or something, and I'm playing with clothes hangers, right? Clipping them together and making things. And a pipe bursts. My mom goes ballistic. Oh my God, there's such a mess. Oh my God, you're killing me, right? And and I think putting the clips together, I caused that pipe to burst. Right? Of course not, but
Yeah.
this is the math that
You
you do in your
too.
head, and this is how absurd the stories are that we make up. And so I made a decision based on that event that it was my responsibility to keep peace in the family and not allow this kind of disruption to happen again.
Which
Now,
is not your responsibility as a
not at all.
2-year-old.
Not at all. Now,
Mm-mm.
understand that half my sisters were married and out of the house when I was born. I was definitely a mistake. The
A
next
blessed
one
one
is,
though.
I think so. The next one is 10 years older than me,
Yeah.
right? So here is a 2-year old is going to manage a 12-year-old and the interaction, right? And so, surprisingly enough, I had ulcers at the age of 12, right? Trying to balance the chaos of the family. But it's a decision that I made, and I made choices, not knowing it unconsciously, my entire life, believing that it was my responsibility to keep peace and keep balance in my marriages, in my friendships, in my with my children, and it's not.
Not.
No, it took, taking down the bricks to go, oh, that was an interesting brick, right? Yep, let's just throw that one out.
Yeah. Yeah. What
Right?
kind of bad behavior are we enabling by doing that?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And again, getting back to tribe, right? We make decisions and choices from we don't know when sometimes that affects our interaction with tribe. And so sometimes the tribe that we're in is not a healthy one for
Oh
us,
yeah. Definitely.
right?
Oh yeah,
right?
that's definitely been part. And like I said, when we said tribe has seasons, right? There's different tribes for different seasons in our lives, and sometimes we realize, okay, this tribe is not a good one,
Not a good
and
one.
I need to leave.
Mhm.
And I have done that in my past as well.
Yep.
Left a tribe of women that were just not allowing or not influencing me in a healthy way,
Yep.
and I walked.
Yep.
I walked. I had no friends for a while, and I was okay with that.
Me too. I moved across country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I
Yeah.
used to go into work. I would go into Boston early in the morning because I didn't like the rush hour. So I'd go early in the morning
Yep.
and go to a coffee shop, and a bunch of us ladies would meet there. And honest to goodness, one-upmanship on who has the worst pain, the worst
Oh,
husband, the
I
worst
know.
relationship, the worst boss, the
Yep.
more pain, the conversation was like, and I would sit there almost
Just a
like,
total gripe session, right?
oh my gosh. And I would be
Yes.
like, I didn't have anything to share because my life wasn't sucky enough to share. Right. Right. But I would listen to them and I knew that they were just playing this game of I'm worse than you, so ha ha, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I know. Been there. Yep.
yep, yep. And I didn't get out of it for a while because I'm like, well, what else is there?
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing that I had choices, that I
Yeah.
I could go have coffee someplace else.
Yes.
Woo,
Right.
woo.
Yeah, we're grown women
Right.
and we can actually take responsibility for our own thoughts and actions and who we choose for friends and where we do and where we work
Right.
and who we hang out with because I'm so glad that I've met Gail over the years, over the past
Yep.
couple years. It's been great.
It's been fun.
And yeah, yeah. So again, another totally different tribe of our mastermind that we're a part of, which is just an amazing group of people too.
Right. And that's another thing. Tribe isn't one thing.
No, no, it's
No.
multiple.
It be because we have different needs. It's almost like, so I'll get to relationships again, right? Um, I know that any relationship that I'm in with another partner, um, I will not expect that partner to fulfill all my needs
Right.
because there are things that I do and things that I love to do that sometimes I want to do them alone, quite frankly, right? And it's okay if you have things that you want to do alone, quite frankly, go do
Yeah.
your thing and let me do my thing, and then we can come together and kind of talk about it, right? Right.
That's healthy.
Um, yeah, because sometimes too much sharing is smothering,
Yes.
right? Right. And so I'm the type of person who needs the space. Lisa, that a couple of times a year I will get on a plane or get in a car and take off,
Yes. All of a
right?
sudden we're like, where is Gail now?
Where is Gail now? It's almost like, where's Waldo? Where's Gail? Right?
Exactly. I was
Right?
thinking that. Where's Waldo? Where's Gail?
Right? And it's because I spiritually need the ability to have no boundaries. For knowing that I have an anchor or home base, right? So I'm not like homeless,
Right.
but
Home
I
base
can
is
be,
good.
right. Home base is good, but it's not a jail cell,
Right. Oh
right?
gosh, no. No.
Right. I
It's
can
home
take off.
base.
Right. It's
Yeah.
home base. Right. In fact, my daughter is like, so when are you taking off again? I'm like, I think May. I'm not sure. Right. I'm kind of looking at Mayish. Right. And I won't be back until August, September, maybe. I don't know.
Love that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So you get
Right.
the freedom to kind of go and yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So that's all good. And yeah, we want to be able to bring a whole mature thinking human to to our various relationships, whether that's, a marriage relationship or a friendship or whatever. We want to bring a whole person
Right.
that's healthy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is difficult to find. Um, there are people who appear to be healthy, right? And then their behavior, I go by behavior, not by words,
Right.
right?
Oh,
And
totally. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Actions. That's one of my mantras. Actions speak louder than words.
they
Always.
actually they will tell me the truth,
Always. Yeah.
and honestly, I don't want to say I don't forgive easily. I will forgive the first time easily. The second time, you're done. I don't give you a third time. That's it. right? And
I'm with you.
yeah, it's like it's just what I do, you know. My first marriage was one that, he cheated on me within 3 months,
Oof.
right? Yeah, yeah. And so I knew that that was a character flaw. It had nothing to do with what was going on with the marriage, right? And we
Yep.
talked about, how can I trust you if this just happened in such a short time because you were mad at me because I said, no, I don't want to go there. I need to be home and just relax tonight. Really? It,
Massive character flaw.
a massive character flaw.
Yeah.
Um, and, I forgave that incident, um, foolishly, right? Um, the second time I was pregnant, I was confused. Like, now what? Now what? Right? And that behavior just never stopped. And so that
Yep.
marriage ended shortly after my daughter was born.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
it is very frightening. At that point in my life, I had zero tribe. I couldn't. I know if I turn to my brother and my sister-in-law, they will have my back, but from a place of anger, and I didn't want that because they would like be so angry at him, right? And I didn't need that anger,
Right.
right? I
Right.
really
Yeah.
didn't want that, right? Certainly couldn't go to his family, though his brother offered, pack your bags and let's leave. And I'm like, no, it's your brother, right? Um,
Awkward. Yeah, exactly.
Awkward. And then, friends at that time, I was young. They were too young. They just weren't appropriate to turn to. So I had no one I felt to turn to, right? And I realized that those that I was associating with, the women, were in the same position. Their husbands were also running around. Their husbands were also, right? And I'm like, this is not the life that I envisioned for me or my daughter,
Yeah. Yep.
right? And so leaving was a very scary, difficult thing to do because I had nothing, absolutely nothing. But I think it's easier to leave when you have nothing than when you could lose everything.
Yeah.
Because my
Yeah.
second
I've
marriage,
seen
I
both.
did. I lost the house, I lost everything, you know, everything. And I'm like, that's okay. I will, I didn't lose me. In fact, I found
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. Yeah, I've
Right.
seen both. I've seen both.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but when it gets toxic and unhealthy and there's major issues back there, it's time to go.
Right. And so back to tribe, what happens with tribe is that when they are there to support you, right? And to guide you and to be part of what it is that you're doing, sometimes you or they go on a different path. And sometimes it's difficult to let go. And I will say that's the case with my
Yeah.
second marriage. It's difficult to let go because you remember what you had,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's so you take stock at if you're feeling that pull, either them leaving or you wanting to leave, and you're feeling resistance to that change, examine why you're staying together, right? And whether it's even a marriage, though I honestly think I do believe that if both parties work at any marriage, it can be worked out, but it takes both parties to work
Oh
at it.
yeah, it takes
Yeah,
both.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I honestly believe it doesn't matter who you're married to. If the both of you are committed to fixing it, it'll be fixed,
Yeah.
right? Um, but sometimes it's just time to move on to something greater. I mean, when I moved out to California, I had like nothing. And
Yeah,
I
I remember the story. You told
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of picked up and went.
just
You had a job though. Didn't you get a job? You had a
I
job there,
had
right?
I got the job before I moved out. I was going to move out when I moved out. That was a date that I had put in a line in the sand. That's it. Um, and then, I did an interview. I flew out for the interview and came back and had the job. I'm like, okay, so, so that's taken care of. But I was going to go anyway. you know, sell the house and live off of that if I had to, right? But
Yeah,
I found a tribe there very quickly,
which is good.
which
Which is
was
good.
good, which was
Yeah.
good.
The
So
gift,
Lee,
another gift, right?
it was fantastic. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
That tribe was so much fun. Now I have nothing in common with any of them, but many of them
But
have
for
been
the
clients of mine, so
time,
that's good.
for
Yeah.
the time it was good, right?
Yes.
It was good.
Yep. Yep. For
So
sure.
good.
For sure. So, has there been a time in your life, Lisa, when you have felt tribeless?
Oh yeah, lots of
Oh,
times.
so talk about one of them.
Lots of times. It was probably, let me see. There was a time where my husband was finishing up his master's, and I think we were at our second church at that point, and we felt the Lord calling, or he felt that the Lord was calling him to eventually be a senior pastor. And I was like, okay. And so it's a big long story, but at that point, being a pastor's wife, I had some friends from work, but I was leaving corporate at that point, and to help raise my kids, and my husband was going back to full time work because he had stepped back and was doing school full time for a while, and so we were doing that adjustment, and my kids were pretty young, not too young, but still, you know first, kindergarten, first and second. And and I think at that point I really felt pretty alone. We were leaving that church. It was a really ugly situation. It kind of blew up. And that was a time where I was like, yeah, I thought some of these women were my friend and they clearly weren't. And that's when I really got smart about being discerning. And then
Hmm.
there was others that stepped in and were just absolute, like, huge blessings to my heart, to my soul. Just amazing women, and they were there for me at that time. And then we moved away, and unfortunately, I have not seen them that much since. But yeah, it was really a good aha moment for me to say, what do I want for close friends? Like, trusting that confidential, that non judgmental piece really stood out because I did feel very alone. And there were so many times, I think, even in the town that we lived in, I had lots of moms from the schools or from sports or whatever. And they just didn't understand my world. I was a pastor's wife. I'm a businesswoman. I was, an older mom. I had my kids in my late 30s. And I would just walk away from talking to people, and they were all sweet. I loved, I really enjoyed the acquaintances and friendships that we had. But there were so many times where I'd walk away and go, people don't get it. They don't get me. They just don't get me. Like, none of these people get it. They just don't understand me or my life or what I deal with on a daily basis, or, just, being in ministry, being married to a pastor who works
Hmm.
7 days a week. I mean, not fun, right? Really stressful, not healthy. And so many people just didn't get it. So I felt pretty alone. But I think when we moved here to New York, to Saratoga Springs, that's when I really feel like the Lord really opened up some good friendships for me. And then Britt kind of came back into my life a bit, and so, but those times of being alone without a tribe, it's hard. It's
Hmm.
very hard.
Very, very hard. And I will
Yep.
tell you, I love Saratoga.
Come on up anytime, my friend.
I think you're about 6 hours from me, so it's a possibility.
Yeah, wait a minute. You're in Manchester?
Yes, about 5 minutes from Manchester. Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It depends which route. You're like totally due east of me,
Right?
through New Hampshire and Vermont, or you can go through Massachusetts and cut through. But yeah, it's a long. But yeah,
Yeah.
not bad. It's a
Yeah.
drive. Come visit.
It is a drive, but 6 hours, that's half a day driving when I'm on the
Yeah,
road.
it's a piece of cake. That's a piece of cake. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's San Diego to Vegas. I used to do that frequently.
True, true. You're right. But yeah, so to answer your question, there have been the seasons without a tribe, and that's why I think I really cherish the tribes, and some of the women that are in my life right now. And I do know that eventually we will be probably moving on from here, and they have talked about moving too. So I've got a few of the women in my tribe locally that are looking to that are moving away. But I've had people too. I've got people all around the country that I can call on and be like, "Hey friend, like I really need a sounding board." And they'll be like, "Great, let's talk." And they're wonderful people. And I consider them close friends. So,
Yeah. Yeah. A distance does, and it has nothing to do with today's day and age. Um, so when Toby transitioned out of my life, at 18, it made space for someone else to come in, right?
mhm.
And that's another thing that happens, it makes space for someone else.
Right.
And, this woman was and always will be my best friend, right? She's passed. She transitioned last year.
Right.
And but to the point where, so I was in Massachusetts and she was in Colorado,
Mhm.
and I called her husband and I said, something is wrenching my gut out. What is wrong with her? That's how
Mhm.
close we were. I
Yeah.
knew if there was something wrong. And she was in the hospital, and we don't have to go into the
Yeah.
story of what was going on at the time, but we were that close.
Yep.
Um, Even though we only saw each other maybe once a year,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? So that's another part of tribe, that distance, and it's not the sister that you're on the phone with every day, right? Right?
But you know those good friends where you can pick up the phone and you haven't talked to them in 3 months and you
Right.
just pick up right where you left off and yeah,
Yeah,
it's a gift.
exactly. And so sisters, and we'll get into that a little bit, and then we'll wrap her up. So sisters, women in particular, create sisterhood wounds
Mm.
during the teenage years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And early 20s, maybe. Some don't grow out of that phase of development in their life. Those are the gossipers, those are the one-upmans,
Yeah.
right? Those are the people that we're talking about. Um, those wounds are what you have to heal yourself
Right.
before you can let another sister in.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Toby was my first sisterhood wound. But when I met Renee, maybe a year later, I was so enthralled with who she was. She was like the total opposite. She went to school in France. Her mother was French. Her father was a Harvard professor. I was a freaking street kid, right? Right?
Exactly.
Right? Right? And she loved the rough side of me. And she loved, you're going to teach me how to dance and how to have fun. And I'm going to teach you what caviar is and escargot. And I'm like, cool. And that's what we did for each other, right?
So fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And 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 so that wound, if you will, I don't know if it got healed or if it became inconsequential,
Mm-hmm.
because I was able to fill that space, that void, with someone else,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the wounds that we have, and that might come up when you're talking about tribe, and you may be resisting tribe and don't even realize it. But when you realize it,
Oh yeah.
look at the wound that you're allowing to be in your way,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a hurt, like you talked about trust, and about being discerning, right? Absolutely know your boundaries and know your values, and do not compromise
Yep.
on them,
Agreed.
right? And if this is a person or a group of people that will bring value to your life, they'll honor that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they won't challenge it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really, I love the discerning, and definitely the boundaries. You need to have, you
Yeah.
need to have healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
right? And
That's a
then, and then,
definite.
right, because then you're safe. You're safe. It's not a wall.
Oh yeah, no. Healthy boundaries are different than a wall. Yeah.
Right, right.
Right.
It's not a wall. It's like, this is not okay with me. Like my daughter, we can talk about recent incident, but by the time this is aired, it won't be recent anymore. But the slap that was heard around the world, right? And my daughter is like, it's not cool that he didn't apologize right away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, she says, but that's my value, Mom. Violence is
Mm-hmm.
is is there's never an excuse for violence. I don't care what trauma came up in his life.
Mm-hmm.
There's never an excuse for trauma, right? And being a coach, I'm like, well, there's an explanation to what happened. He had a serious, if you watch his face, he was not in control. He had a traumatic response. And he probably was in as much shock as everyone else that he even did that and had to get over the shock. And now he's going to be paying the consequences for it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You know,
Because there are consequences for your actions. So,
right. There are consequences for your actions. I have a really dear friend who did a great Facebook Live on, when you are a high achiever and you don't continue to work on yourself, this shit happens. She says, I'm a high achiever. I know what he's dealing with. And I have to check myself all the time because I'm in the limelight.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
And, even those that aren't, and that's taking care of your tribe. Right. By checking
Exactly.
yourself. Right. Because it's
Exactly.
your responsibility to take care of them as it is their responsibility to take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
Lisa, I'm so happy that you're part of my mastermind tribe.
We definitely love the mastermind.
I
So
know.
thank you so much for having me on, Gail. This conversation was just so fun and engaging, and I can't believe the time just flew by.
I know. I looked at the clock. I went, oh my goodness, I need to go because I have another podcast to record in about a half an hour. But let people know how they can find you. I know you have a podcast that you want to tell people about. So definitely go
Yes,
for it.
absolutely. So you can find me at bima.network. BIMA.network, and my email is lisa@bima.network. And also, our podcast is called The Cottage, and we'll be having Gail on there soon. And yeah, it's called The Cottage, and it's some conversations about work, faith, and life, and it's with my colleague Britt.
Oh,
So,
God.
so excited.
Yay! Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. This is Gail Kraft from The Empowering Process. And if you like this, then let us know. If something came up during our conversation that maybe you would like us to go into deeper, comment on it so that we know. We'll definitely get back together and talk about that because Lisa and I could talk forever on whatever subject for sure. And if you know someone who maybe could benefit from this conversation, share it out to them. As always, love you guys. Thank you so much. Gail Kraft, the Empowering Process Podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process Podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.